Princess Lyra of Alaris sat in the grand throne room, her gaze drifting over the sparkling city beyond the tall crystal windows. The sun's light caught the polished surfaces of the palace, making the entire hall glow as if it were alive. Lyra's life had been full of beauty, wealth, and education, yet she felt a restless curiosity in her heart. She had everything a princess could desire, but she had never felt free to choose her own future. As the only child of King Arion and Queen Solara, Lyra was expected to follow tradition. Alaris had a long history, and the royal family's marriages were always arranged to maintain alliances, strengthen political power, and preserve the purity of noble bloodlines. Lyra had been taught since childhood that her future husband would be chosen from among the elite alien nobles, wise, powerful, and refined. Yet Lyra's heart rebelled. She had grown up observing the nobles closely, learning their manners and skills, and she noticed something many others ignored. While they were clever and accomplished, they often lacked empathy. Pride overshadowed kindness, and ambition overshadowed courage. Lyra wanted more than tradition. She wanted someone who could share her values, someone brave, honest, and compassionate. During one quiet morning, Lyra wandered the palace gardens, a hidden place where few were allowed. The gardens stretched for kilometers, filled with towering crystal trees, glowing flowers, and streams of liquid light that reflected the sky. Lyra walked along the glowing paths, her thoughts wandering to the upcoming royal banquet, where she would meet the nobles again. Her reflections were interrupted by a sudden commotion in the central courtyard. Couriers hurried and palace guards whispered urgently. Lyra's curiosity led her to a balcony overlooking the courtyard, where a ship unlike any she had seen before had just landed. Sleek, shining with metal and glass, it seemed almost alive. From the ship stepped a human ambassador, Ethan. Lyra had heard of humans before, visitors from a distant planet called Earth. They were rare in this part of the galaxy, usually sent as diplomats, explorers, or scholars. They were smaller, less technologically advanced, and often underestimated by the more advanced alien civilizations. Ethan stepped lightly onto the courtyard, looking around with calm, curious eyes. He carried no guards, no weapons, only a simple satchel. There was something about his presence that immediately caught Lyra's attention. He moved with confidence, yet he seemed unafraid of the grandeur surrounding him. During the banquet that evening, Lyra observed Ethan from across the hall. The alien nobles performed their rituals of politeness and display, bowing, speaking in careful tones, and trying to impress her. Some tried to show off knowledge of distant galaxies. Others displayed skill in subtle magic or technology manipulation. Yet Lyra found herself increasingly bored. Ethan, however, engaged in conversation with curiosity and honesty. He asked questions about Alaris, the palace, and its people, not to show superiority but to understand. He listened more than he spoke, laughed when something amused him, and showed genuine respect to all, regardless of rank. Lyra was captivated. After the banquet, she slipped away from the formalities and found herself on a quiet balcony. She could still hear distant music and laughter, but here it was peaceful. To her surprise, Ethan appeared. "Your Highness," he said with a polite bow. "I hope I am not intruding." Lyra shook her head. "Not at all. I needed some air. You seem different from what I expected." Ethan smiled. "I do not wish to impress anyone. I only wish to understand." Lyra felt a spark of excitement. Finally, someone who did not care about status, appearances, or tradition, but about the truth of things. "You are human," she said softly. "Do you not find this place overwhelming?" Ethan looked around at the glowing towers, the crystal structures, and the floating gardens. "It is beautiful," he said honestly. "But beauty alone does not define worth. What matters is courage, kindness, and the choices we make." Lyra's heart skipped a beat. No alien noble had ever spoken to her in this way, so simple yet so true. She realized that her fascination with him was more than curiosity. It was admiration, and she knew, even in this first moment, that her future would not follow tradition. In the days that followed, Lyra observed Ethan closely. He interacted with scientists, engineers, and scholars of Alaris, always listening, always asking questions. He showed ingenuity in problem-solving, creativity in thinking, and courage when others hesitated. And always he treated her as a person, not as a princess to impress or a prize to win. Lyra began to understand a truth that shook her deeply. She could not marry an Illyrian noble simply because tradition demanded it. None of them, despite their knowledge or power, had the qualities she admired in Ethan. Her heart had already chosen. One afternoon, Lyra walked alone in the gardens, lost in thought. The wind rustled the glowing leaves and streams of light shimmered around her. She realized that she could not ignore her feelings. She could not pretend that a noble arranged by tradition would ever satisfy her. She wanted someone brave, kind, and wise, not someone powerful and proud. Her decision was bold and dangerous. She knew the council would oppose it. Alien societies were strict, and humans were considered outsiders, unworthy of joining royal bloodlines. Choosing a human meant risking ridicule, anger, and political chaos, yet Lyra felt a deep certainty in her heart. She had to follow it. Later that evening, she sought out Ethan in the palace courtyard. He was observing the night sky, watching stars shimmer across the Illyrian heavens. "Ethan," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion, "I have made a choice. My future husband must be human." Ethan turned to her, surprise and curiosity in his eyes. "Your Highness, that is bold. Are you certain?" Lyra nodded. "I am. I cannot marry a noble for tradition alone. I need someone I can trust, someone brave, someone who values courage and heart over power. That someone is you." Ethan's eyes widened slightly, then softened. "Lyra, I am honored, and I will do my best to prove myself worthy of your trust and your heart. But you must know, this path will be difficult. There are dangers, and the council will not accept it easily." Lyra smiled, a mix of determination and excitement. "I know, but I am ready. I will face the council, the nobles, and anyone who opposes this. I have made my choice." From that moment, Lyra and Ethan became allies in secret. They planned their meetings carefully, exploring hidden corners of the palace, exchanging ideas about life, love, and the universe. They learned from each other, laughed together, and faced small challenges that strengthened their bond. The first part of their journey was not yet public knowledge, but Lyra felt the thrill of independence. She was no longer a princess bound by tradition. She was a young woman with a vision for the future and the courage to claim it. And for the first time, she felt hope, not just for love, but for the chance to change her world. As night fell over Alaris, Lyra looked out from the palace balcony at the glowing city below. She felt a rush of determination. Her choice was made, and nothing could turn her back. A human, Ethan, would stand beside her, not just as a companion, but as a symbol of courage, heart, and the possibilities that awaited the galaxy. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging her decision. Lyra knew the path ahead would be filled with trials, doubts, and challenges. But for the first time in her life, she was certain of one thing: her future and her heart would not be guided by tradition, but by courage, choice, and love. Princess Lyra could hardly concentrate during her morning lessons. Her mind kept drifting to the human ambassador, Ethan, who had arrived on Alaris just a few days ago. He was unlike anyone she had ever met, curious, bold, and genuinely kind. He laughed freely, asked questions, and never seemed to be afraid of making mistakes. Lyra had grown up surrounded by Illyrian nobles who were clever and skilled, but their hearts often seemed cold, their pride shining brighter than their compassion. Ethan was different, and that difference fascinated her. After the royal breakfast, Lyra found a quiet moment in the palace gardens. The gardens were vast, stretching over several kilometers with flowers that glowed softly in the Illyrian sunlight. Some trees hummed when the wind passed through them, and the air carried the faint scent of minerals from the nearby mountains. Here, away from the eyes of the court, Lyra felt free. She walked among the glowing blossoms, thinking about what it meant to choose a life partner. Ethan appeared suddenly, stepping lightly over the crystal path. "Your Highness," he said, bowing politely but with a friendly smile. "I hope I am not intruding." Lyra shook her head. "Not at all," she replied. "I was just thinking." Her heart beat faster as she watched him approach. "I wanted to ask you something. About humans." Ethan tilted his head, curiosity sparkling in his brown eyes. "Ask anything. I will answer." Lyra hesitated. "Humans are different. We are told to admire them, but many in my court think they are too simple. Why do you come to other worlds, Ethan, if humans are so ordinary?" Ethan smiled. Humans are ordinary in many ways, but that is exactly why we matter. We struggle, we fail, we learn, and somehow we survive. Ordinary can be powerful. Lyra was surprised by the simplicity of his answer. It made sense in a way the polished words of her advisors never did. She realized that she wanted to know more, not just about humans, but about Ethan himself. "Do you think humans could ever be leaders among aliens?" she asked quietly. Ethan thought for a moment. Maybe. If they are brave enough, clever enough, and willing to work with others. Humans do not have the history or the strength of your people, but we have something else. Determination. We try when others might give up. That matters more than anything. Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. No alien noble had ever spoken to her like this, so honestly, so humbly. She realized that her fascination with him was growing into something deeper, something she could not ignore. That evening, Lyra found an excuse to leave the palace hall during a dinner with the nobles. She slipped through the corridors, her long gown brushing the floor, and made her way to the garden. Ethan was already there, studying a strange glowing flower with delicate spiraling petals. "I thought I might find you here," Lyra said, stepping quietly behind him. Ethan turned and smiled. "I had a feeling." He gestured to the flower. "Do you know what this is?" Lyra shook her head. "No, I have never seen it before." "It's called a light spire," Ethan explained. "It grows only in certain conditions. On Earth, we have plants that survive harsh deserts or icy mountains, and they inspire people. This flower, it inspires me." Lyra looked at him, amazed at how he found wonder in everything. "You make everything seem alive. Humans notice things we ignore." Ethan laughed softly. "Maybe we notice because we cannot rely on everything being perfect. We learn to see the small things." For hours they talked about humans, Alaris, and the universe beyond. Lyra asked questions, and Ethan answered with stories of Earth, of mountains that scraped the sky, oceans that stretched farther than imagination, and people who risked everything to explore the stars. In return, Lyra told him about Alaris's history, about inventions that bent light and created energy, about traditions older than many human civilizations. As night fell, glowing orbs floated from the trees, casting soft light over the garden paths. Lyra felt a nervous excitement she had never experienced before. Being with Ethan was not just thrilling. It felt like discovering a secret truth that no one else could understand. "I wish we could talk like this without worrying," Lyra admitted, looking down at the glowing path. "But my court, they would never accept it. They expect me to marry one of their own. They cannot imagine a human being worthy of anything." Ethan stepped closer, gently brushing a lock of hair from her face. "Lyra, perhaps they are wrong. Perhaps what matters most is not birth or tradition, but heart and courage. You already see it. I see it. That is enough for now." Lyra looked up at him, her eyes shining. For the first time, she felt that she could challenge the rules that had been set for her entire life. "I want to try," she whispered. "I want to show them that humans can be worthy. But I cannot do it alone." "You will not have to," Ethan said. "I will stand with you no matter what trials they set. I will prove that humans can face anything." The next few days brought tension and danger. Rumors of the princess's secret meetings spread through the palace. Some nobles sneered, claiming Lyra was being foolish, while others whispered in awe about her courage. The council became alert, sending advisors and guards to monitor her actions. Despite the watchful eyes, Lyra and Ethan continued their secret meetings. They explored hidden corners of the palace, finding rooms filled with ancient artifacts, libraries with knowledge older than the galaxy, and observation decks where the stars could be seen twinkling like distant jewels. Each meeting strengthened their bond. Each conversation reminded Lyra why she had made her choice. One evening, Ethan presented Lyra with a small device, a simple Earth gadget that projected holographic images. "I thought you might like to see something from home," he said. With a touch, the device showed mountains, forests, rivers, and cities of Earth. Lyra watched in awe as the images shifted and moved. She had seen holograms before, but there was something alive about these scenes, something human. "They are beautiful," Lyra murmured. "Humans have built wonders even without the technology of my world," Ethan smiled. "We do what we can, and we survive what we cannot control. That is what makes us strong." Lyra realized that she was not only learning about humans, but also learning about herself. She understood that courage and love required risk. Choosing Ethan meant risking her position, her reputation, and the expectations of everyone around her. But it also meant embracing honesty, freedom, and hope. Their secret meetings continued for weeks, growing bolder each time. One night, as the twin moons of Alaris rose high, Lyra and Ethan stood on the palace balcony looking at the stars. "Do you think the council will ever accept this?" Lyra asked softly. Ethan took her hand. "They may never accept it, but we can show them what is possible. We can lead by example. Humans may be simple in some ways, but we are not weak, you and I. Together we can prove that heart matters more than tradition." Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "Then we will do it. I will not marry anyone else. My choice is made." Suddenly a shadow moved across the balcony. One of the palace guards, loyal to the council, had been watching them. He raised a signaling device and Lyra's heart sank. Their secret was no longer safe. Ethan stepped in front of her, protecting her with a calm bravery that made her heart swell. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "No harm will come to you while I am here." The guard hesitated, clearly surprised by Ethan's presence and confidence. "Princess Lyra, the council requires your immediate attention," he said formally. Lyra took a deep breath, looking at Ethan. "We will face them," she said. "Together." Ethan nodded, his hand tightening around hers. "Together," he repeated. As they descended the balcony steps, Lyra felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. She was about to confront the full power of tradition, yet she felt ready. She was not alone, and for the first time, she truly believed that love, courage, and determination could change the course of history. The journey ahead would be dangerous. The council would challenge her. Nobles would oppose her. But Lyra was certain of one thing. Her heart had made its choice, and that choice was human. And so, under the twin moons and the glittering stars of Alaris, Lyra and Ethan took their first steps into a future where love and bravery could defy even the oldest traditions. The next morning, the palace was buzzing with tension. Word had spread that Princess Lyra had openly declared her choice, a human, Ethan, as her future husband. The council was furious. Elders of the court whispered in sharp voices, their faces grim, while younger nobles looked on with curiosity, some even secretly admiring her courage. Lyra stood tall in the royal chamber as the council gathered. "Your Highness," Elder Valen began, his voice cold and formal, "you cannot simply ignore the traditions of Alaris. A human is not eligible to marry a princess of our bloodline. To prove this, we have devised a series of trials." Lyra's heart skipped a beat, but she did not falter. "I will face these trials," she said clearly. "Ethan will participate, and together, we will show that humans are capable of more than you think." Ethan, standing beside her, felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had faced challenges before, but these were not tests of skill alone. They were tests designed by one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Their ingenuity and power were unmatched. Yet Ethan's determination never wavered. The first trial was the test of wisdom. The council led them to a vast library, filled with towering shelves of glowing scrolls, ancient tablets, and interactive knowledge panels. Each trial participant had to answer questions about Alaris's history, culture, and advanced technology. Many aliens excelled, their perfect memories allowing them to recall centuries of information. Ethan approached the challenge differently. He listened carefully, asked clarifying questions, and used logic rather than memorization. When faced with a complex puzzle involving energy manipulation and star charts, he paused to think. Then, using principles of human mathematics, he calculated a solution no Alarian had predicted. The council murmured in astonishment. Lyra watched him proudly. She had always known humans had unique ways of thinking, but seeing Ethan apply it under pressure made her heart swell. When he solved the puzzle, the council could not deny his cleverness. The second trial was the test of courage. Participants were sent to the Crimson Canyon, a vast chasm with unstable bridges, shifting winds, and illusions that played tricks on the mind. The goal was simple: cross from one side to the other, retrieving a glowing crystal suspended in the center. Many alien nobles hesitated, fearing the canyon's dangers, but Ethan advanced steadily, focusing on the path rather than the fear. At one point, a strong wind swept through, threatening to knock him off balance. Lyra gasped from the observation platform, but Ethan adjusted his footing, grabbed a support ledge, and continued forward. When he reached the crystal, the observers were amazed. No human had ever completed the canyon challenge before. The third trial was the test of loyalty and compassion. Participants were shown holograms of beings in distress, aliens trapped in collapsing structures, injured creatures, or people facing danger. Each participant had to choose whether to save them or pursue the rewards of the trial. Many Ilarian nobles focused on victory, ignored the pleas or delayed action. Ethan acted immediately. He used his ingenuity to create temporary bridges, lift debris, and guide holographic victims to safety. Lyra followed him, amazed at his quick thinking and empathy. The council watched in silence. For the first time, they witnessed a human displaying a combination of courage, intelligence, and heart, the qualities they had long claimed only Ilarian blood could produce. As the trials grew more difficult, the council attempted subtle sabotage. Hidden traps, misleading instructions, and complex riddles were introduced to discourage Ethan. Yet, each time, he adapted. Using intuition, observation, and lessons learned from Earth, he overcame every obstacle. One trial brought them to the shimmering forest, where the trees emitted hypnotic lights designed to confuse the mind. Many participants wandered in circles for hours, but Ethan focused on patterns, noticing subtle differences in the lights and following a logical path to the exit. Lyra accompanied him, offering support and encouragement, and together they reached the forest center where a small temple held a glowing orb, the reward of the trial. The challenges were not just physical or mental, they were emotional. The council sought to test how they handled fear, doubt, and the judgment of others. Rumors of their progress had spread among the Ilarian citizens. People whispered about the human who dared to face impossible trials, and the princess who supported him. Some began to question whether tradition was always right. During the final trial, the most dangerous of all participants were sent to the magnetic peaks, mountains that generated strong magnetic storms capable of interfering with equipment and disorienting the mind. Many Ilarian nobles relied on technology to guide them, but Ethan relied on observation, logic, and steady courage. As the storm raged, Lyra felt her pulse quicken. Lightning-like energy arcs danced across the peaks and magnetic pulses shifted the landscape unexpectedly. Ethan carefully adjusted their path, using metal-free equipment and human ingenuity to navigate the peaks. When a rockslide blocked their way, he created a makeshift lever to clear the path. Lyra followed his lead, amazed at how calm and determined he remained under pressure. Finally, they reached the summit, where a golden banner awaited the victor. Ethan held Lyra's hand as they placed their hands together on the banner, symbolizing victory through cooperation, courage, and unity. The crowd below erupted in astonishment. No human had ever completed all the trials, let alone with an Ilarian princess by his side. The council, unable to ignore the evidence, had no choice but to acknowledge Ethan's success. Some elders whispered angrily, insisting that one human could never replace centuries of tradition. Others, especially the younger members of the court, looked at Lyra and Ethan with admiration. Perhaps, they thought, change was possible after all. In the days that followed, Lyra and Ethan were not only celebrated but also closely monitored. The council wanted to ensure the trials had not been tampered with, and the nobles sought to challenge them in new ways. Yet Lyra felt more confident than ever. The trials had proven more than Ethan's capabilities. They had shown the strength of trust, courage, and love. One evening, as they rested in a quiet corner of the palace gardens, Lyra spoke softly. "Do you see, Ethan? They may try to stop us, but I have never doubted you. Humans are remarkable. I knew it, but now I see it with my own eyes." Ethan smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And I never doubted you, Lyra. You have courage to stand up against centuries of tradition. You trust me, and together we can face anything." Lyra leaned against him, feeling a sense of peace she had never known. For the first time, she realized that love was not just a feeling, it was action. It was standing side by side, facing impossible trials and never giving up. The palace buzzed with speculation. Some citizens began to openly support the princess and the human, speaking of fairness, merit, and courage. The older council members were wary, but even they could not deny the admiration building among the population. Change, it seemed, was beginning to ripple through Alaris, sparked by the bravery of one princess and the determination of one human. Yet the greatest challenge was still ahead. The council would not yield easily, and the trials, though completed, had only proven Ethan's worth in the eyes of some. Lyra knew that to secure their future, they would have to fight for acceptance not just in tests, but in hearts and minds across the planet. That night, as twin moons cast a silver glow over the palace, Lyra and Ethan stood on the balcony looking out over the city. "We have proven ourselves," Lyra said softly. "But the council, they will not give up," Ethan nodded. "No, they won't, but we have started something. People are watching, learning, and we have each other." Lyra took his hand, feeling the warmth and strength within it. "Together," she whispered. "Together," Ethan repeated. And so, under the shimmering moons and the twinkling stars of Alaris, the princess and the human prepared for the next challenge, not a test of skill or courage, but a test of leadership, unity, and the power to change a world. The Council of Alaris gathered in the Great Hall, a magnificent chamber with towering crystal pillars and a ceiling that mirrored the galaxy itself. Elder Valen paced the floor, his long robe brushing the shining tiles. "Princess Lyra," he said sternly, "your insistence on marrying a human has shaken the very foundations of our traditions. We cannot allow this." Lyra stood before the council, her chin high. "I will not abandon my choice," she said firmly. "Ethan has proven himself through every trial. Humans have courage, intelligence, and heart. Do you not see that merit matters more than lineage?" The council murmured, divided between anger and admiration. Many younger nobles whispered in agreement, inspired by Lyra's courage. Some council members threatened exile. Others demanded immediate separation. But Lyra and Ethan were prepared. Together they made a bold plan. Lyra used her knowledge of Alaris's ancient technology to access a long-forgotten network of communication. She sent messages across the galaxy, telling of the trials, Ethan's bravery, and the unfair opposition of the council. Aliens and humans alike watched as the story of a princess defying tradition for love and justice spread. At the same time, Ethan demonstrated practical ways humans could help Alaris. He analyzed energy grids, proposed solutions to environmental challenges, and shared ideas for faster interstellar travel. The citizens began to see humans not as outsiders, but as allies. Even some council members started to change their minds, realizing that rigid tradition might harm their society if ignored. Tensions rose as the council tried to discredit Ethan. They arranged a challenge, a simulated disaster on the planet's outer colonies. Ethan and Lyra were tasked to resolve it. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Alarian knowledge, they prevented the catastrophe, saving countless lives. Citizens hailed them as heroes. The council could no longer deny the truth. Humans were capable of remarkable things. Some elders, still clinging to tradition, attempted sabotage during the public celebrations. But the unity between humans and Alarian supporters made them powerless. Lyra and Ethan stood together, guiding the public through the festival of lights that honored the planet's history and future. Lyra spoke from the central stage, her voice carrying across the crowd. "Today we celebrate more than bravery. We celebrate courage, loyalty, and the belief that a heart's choice can change the galaxy. Humans have shown that they are worthy of respect, partnership, and friendship." Applause filled the square with thousands cheering. Young Ilarian nobles approached Lyra, asking how they could learn from humans' courage and creativity. The older council members remained cautious, but even they could not ignore the changes in public opinion. With the galaxy watching, the council finally relented. They declared that marriage choice would no longer be restricted by lineage alone. Merit, courage, and heart would be recognized as essential qualities. Lyra's bold stand had reshaped the law and inspired generations. That night, as they walked in the palace gardens under twin moons, Lyra looked at Ethan. "We did it," she said softly. "The people, the council, they finally understand." Ethan smiled, taking her hand. "It was never just about rules. It was about showing what's possible when we act with courage and heart." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars. "I knew humans were extraordinary, but I never imagined we could inspire a galaxy together." Ethan laughed quietly. "You inspired me just as much. Without you, none of this would have been possible." As they stood together, looking out over the planet illuminated by glowing cities and shimmering forests, they felt the weight of history and the thrill of new beginnings. They knew challenges would come, but united, they could face anything. In the weeks that followed, Lyra and Ethan worked tirelessly. They helped organize councils of humans and Alarian citizens to develop new technologies, plan joint missions, and promote understanding across species. Stories of their adventures spread to neighboring planets, and soon, other civilizations began to see humans as allies and leaders, not just visitors. The princess and her human companion had not only changed a planet, they had sparked a movement. Across the galaxy, discussions began about collaboration, courage, and the value of choice over tradition. Lyra realized that love had been the catalyst, but courage and vision would sustain the change. One evening, high on the palace observation deck, Lyra and Ethan watched a distant fleet of human ships approach Alaris. The sight was breathtaking, with their lights reflecting off the crystalline mountains. "Our worlds are coming together," Ethan said softly. "And this is only the beginning." Lyra leaned into him. "Yes, together we can make a future where understanding, respect, and courage guide every choice." Ethan nodded, holding her hand tightly. Together. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if celebrating a new era. The princess and the human had united not just hearts, but a galaxy. The day of the wedding arrived, and Alaris was alive with celebration. Citizens from across the planet and beyond gathered in the grand palace courtyard. Colorful banners fluttered in the wind, holographic lights shimmered above the crowd, and music, both human and Ilarian, filled the air. Lyra stood in her ceremonial gown, a blend of Ilarian elegance and human simplicity. Her heart raced, but it was not from fear, it was excitement. Today marked the beginning of a new chapter, not only in her life but in the history of two civilizations coming together. Ethan arrived, wearing a formal suit designed by Ilarian and human designers. He looked nervous but confident, his eyes shining with determination. As he approached, Lyra felt a rush of emotion. Here was the man who had proven himself through trials, who had stood by her through danger and doubt, and who had inspired change across a galaxy. The ceremony was unlike any other. Ilarian elders performed ancient rituals while humans shared their own customs. Lyra and Ethan exchanged vows, promising to support, respect, and love each other, and to work together to create a future of unity and understanding. When they finally joined hands, the crowd erupted in joy. Aliens and humans cheered together, celebrating not only love but the possibility of a harmonious future. For many, it was a turning point, a reminder that courage and heart could triumph over centuries of expectation. After the ceremony, Lyra and Ethan toured the palace grounds, meeting citizens who wanted to congratulate them. Children stared wide-eyed at Ethan, fascinated by a human hero in their midst. Citizens approached Lyra, thanking her for her bravery and vision. The princess realized that her personal choice had inspired hope, courage, and possibility for countless lives. The newlyweds spent their first days exploring Alaris together. They visited the crystal forest, where they marveled at glowing flora, the magnetic peaks where they tested human ingenuity against alien technology, and the shimmering plains, where wind patterns created living light displays. Each adventure reminded them that the universe was full of wonder and challenges, and that together, they could face both. Lyra also began working with council members to implement reforms. They established programs for human and Ilarian students to collaborate, shared technology and knowledge, and encouraged diplomacy across planets. Under her guidance, Alaris became a hub of learning and cooperation, a symbol of unity for the galaxy. Ethan, meanwhile, became an ambassador for humans across alien worlds. He shared stories of human courage, creativity, and perseverance, showing that even ordinary beings could achieve extraordinary things. His work strengthened alliances, promoted understanding, and further proved the worth of humans beyond Alaris. One evening, as Lyra and Ethan stood on the palace balcony, the twin moons casting silver light over the landscape, they reflected on their journey. "We have come far," Lyra said, holding Ethan's hand. "Not just in love, but in changing hearts and minds." Ethan smiled. "Yes, and there is still so much to do, but I am ready as long as we are together." Lyra leaned against him, feeling a sense of peace and determination. Together we can face any challenge, explore any horizon, and inspire any heart. In the weeks that followed, Alaris continued to transform. Citizens embraced new ideas, Humans and aliens collaborated on grand projects, and Lyra and Ethan became symbols of unity and hope. Their love had proven that courage, heart, and vision could reshape a world, and perhaps a galaxy. The story of Princess Lyra and Ethan, the human who defied expectations, spread far and wide. Across planets and stars, beings spoke of a love that changed history, inspired courage, and reminded all that even the smallest choices made bravely could light the way to a brighter future. As they watched the stars from their palace balcony, Lyra whispered, "Our adventure has only begun." Ethan smiled, squeezing her hand, "And with you by my side, it will be the greatest adventure of all." Together, under the endless sky, the princess and the human stepped into a future they had shaped themselves, one of love, courage, unity, and hope for all.